Hello, Year 6, and hello to everybody else that might be joining us on World Book Day. I hope you're having a fantastic time. I brought you outside this afternoon or this morning, whenever you're watching, as it's such a lovely day, and I just thought I'd share two outdoors books with you. And these two books I've been reading at the moment with my little baby. She loves looking at the pictures, so I thought I'd read you two of these and then a little bit of Goodnight, Mr. Tom too. So, the first one, we're going on a bear hunt. What a classic. And the second one, Hungry Little Caterpillar. And then a little bit of Goodnight, Mr. Tom. So 3 books in one here. So let's start with we're going on a bear hunt. A little bit, you might think childish for Year 6, but everybody loves a classic. So let's have a little look. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, grass. Long, wavy grass. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Uh-oh, we've got to go through it. Swishy, swashy, swishy, swashy, swishy, swashy. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, a river. A deep, cold river. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Uh-oh, we've got to go through it. Splish, splash, splosh. Splosh, splash, splish. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, mud. Thick, oozy mud. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Uh-oh. We got to go through it. Squelch, 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 squirch, squelch, squirch. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, a forest. A big, dark forest. Can't go over it. We can't go under it. Uh-oh, we've got to go through it. Stumble, trip, stumble, trip, stumble, trip. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, a snowstorm. A swirling, whirling snowstorm. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Oh, we've got to go through it. Whoo, 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 whoo. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, a cave. A narrow, gloomy cave. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. Uh-oh, we got to go through it. Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. What's that? One shiny, wet nose. 2 big, furry ears. 2 big, googly eyes. It's a bear! Quick, back through the cave. Tiptoe, tiptoe, tiptoe. Back through the snowstorm. Back through the forest. Stumble, trip, stumble, trip, stumble, trip. Back through the mud. Squelch, 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 squelch. Back through the river. Squelch, splash, splish, splash, splish, splash, splish, splash. Back through the grass. Swishy, swashy, swishy, swashy. Get to our front door. Open the door. Up the stairs. Uh-oh, we forgot to shut the door. Back down the stairs. Shut the door. Back up the stairs. Into the bedroom. Into bed. Under the covers. We're not going on a bear hunt again. Whew. And that is the end. That was an adventure. Hope you enjoyed it. And the next one we're going to have a look at is The Very Hungry Caterpillar. So, let's have a little look. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. One Sunday morning, the warm sun came up, and pop! Out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one apple, but he was still hungry. On Tuesday, he ate through two pears, but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through three plums, but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through four strawberries, but he was still hungry. On Friday, he ate through five oranges, but he was still hungry. On Saturday, he ate through one piece of chocolate cake, one ice cream cone, one pickle, one slice of Swiss cheese, one slice of salami, one lollipop, one piece of cherry pie, one sausage, one cupcake, and one slice of watermelon. That night, he had a stomach ache. The next day was Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through one nice green leaf, and after that, he felt much better. Now he wasn't hungry anymore, and he wasn't a little caterpillar anymore. He was a big, fat caterpillar. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks. Then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and he was a beautiful butterfly. And there you can see all the little nibbles that the hungry caterpillar has had. The end. Another one that I'm sure you'll remember from when you were a little bit younger. So I'm going to carry on reading now a little bit of Goodnight, Mr. Tom. And I know the children in school have read a little bit of this. And I'm hoping that you will be up to a similar part if you've been reading it at home. We had a look at the birthday boy extract last week in book talk. So I'm going to carry on from chapter 10, which is The Case. During the next 7 weeks, the leaves floated and twirled from the trees, and the light hoar frost covered the fields in the early mornings. Matthew Parfit, who was in the reserves, had been called up by May Throne. To the surprise of everyone, volunteered to deliver the post. She unearthed an ancient bicycle from some forgotten shed corner and proceeded to ride it from cottage to cottage, her sack full of letters stuffed compactly into the basket in the front. I thought that they were extinct, Zach had said on his first seeing her riding it. Looks like a fossil on wheels. I am, of course, referring to the bicycle frame and not Miss May, he added. Michael Fletcher, who had signed up in September, had at last, after much impatient waiting, also been called up. He and John Barnes travelled to Weirwall together to catch the train. Mrs. Miller had been rushed into hospital with concussion after having walked into a tree in the pitch dark. When news of the event reached the graveyard cottage, Willie had overheard Tom muttering something to the effect that it was a wonder the tree didn't have to be taken too. Meanwhile, the government had asked for a money contribution from the parents of the evacuees. Since many parents were miserable at being separated from their offspring, and it would be a struggle for some to pay money for their misery, they finally decided to have them home again. Half of the evacuees in Little Weirwold and the surrounding area had already left. This meant that the classrooms were not so crowded. But there was still a shortage of paper and pencils. Willie longed desperately to be in Mrs. Hartridge's class, even though he had since grown quite fond of Mrs. Black. Every day before and after school, he faithfully practiced reading and writing, and occasionally, when Amelia Thorne returned from the library, she would pop round when Tom was out on fire duty and sit with him. She soon discovered that he had a remarkable aptitude for learning words, especially if he liked them. She started to teach him rhymes and poems, and then she would write them down on scraps of paper so that he could follow the letters through when he was on his own. By now, Tom had related the whole of Genesis to him and had just read the Just So stories twice. He and Willie were now in the middle of Exodus and had just begun Grimm's fairy tales. Willie and Zach managed to see each other every day, as well as at weekends and the odd evenings, and they, the twins and George, would walk and play in the fields together. One dull afternoon, on the last day of October, he and Willie were kneeling on the window ledge in the sitting room of the Littles' cottage. A slow, icy drizzle of rain splattered and ran in tiny rivulets down the window. Zach squinted through the glass and wiped his breath away from the pain. "Where is he?" moaned. "He's taken an age." He turned despondently from the window. "It'll soon be dark, and then we won't be able to see him coming at all." He was cut short by a loud knocking at the front door. "Yippee! Whizzo!" yelled Zach, leaping up and running out of the kitchen. "Kalookalay! Kalookalay!" He switched off the hall light, stumbled to the front door, and flung it open. His face fell. It was George and the twins. "There's a welcome," said Carrie. "It ain't arrived, has it?" said George as they stepped into the dark hall. Zach slammed the door behind them in a disgruntled manner and turned the light on. "We can only stay for an hour," said Ginny. Mrs. Little leaned against the kitchen doorway, a freshly lit cigarette in her hand. "You'll have to take them upstairs, Zach. First aid begins in 15 minutes. Zach groaned. "Unless, of course, you want to be a volunteer body." "No, thanks," said Zach hurriedly. "Quick, let's go." The five of them scrambled up the narrow carpeted stairway. "And don't forget to put up the blacks," yelled Mrs. Little after them. "I don't want Charlie Ruddles wagging his finger at me again." "I won't," answered Zach. Zach's room seemed more like a study than a bedroom. One wall was filled to overflowing with medical books, and against the back window overlooking the Littles' straggled but unsuspectingly organized garden stood a large rolled-top desk and a chair. Along the wall opposite the bookcase was a bed, and under the front window, which looked out over tiny arched lane and fields, was a small table with a photograph of a young woman and a slightly older man with large penetrating eyes and a broad grin. They had an arm around each other. On the floor beside Zach's bed was a small pile of books. The twins perched themselves on the bed. Zach sat on the chair by the desk, and George and Willie sat cross-legged with their backs leaning against the bookcase. Carrie picked up some of the books. "To Save His Chum," she read aloud. "Storky and Co. The Golden Treasury of Verse. Great Actors I Have Known. What an odd mixture." "Not at all," exclaimed Zach. "Well, I think it's odd." There was another loud knocking from downstairs. Zach leapt from his chair. "It's Mr. Tom," said Willie suddenly, and he flushed at having betrayed his excitement so openly. Zach gave out a yell, threw the bedroom door open, and flung himself down the stairs. The others clattered on behind him. Tom was standing in the hallway, his cap and overcoat covered in a thin layer of drizzle. "I've tried to keep it dry," he said, indicating a battered suitcase by his feet. "Best to wipe it, though." He looked at Willie. "Suppose you'll be wanting to stay here for a bit, eh?" "Yeah, can I?" "I'll collect you in 30 minutes. Mind you, come immediate like." Zach and George dragged the case up to the bedroom and laid it on one side. It was a brown leather case with two straps that buckled up on either side of the handle. The leather was soft and faded with age. Both sides of it were covered in labels of all colours and shapes with names and towns and countries on them. Two thick pieces of cord were tied horizontally and vertically around it. "Have you been to all them countries?" asked George. "My parents, mostly. They used this when they were one night standing, and eventually they gave it to me." "One night standing?" repeated Willie. "Yeah. There are some companies that perform in a different venue every night." "A venue? What's that?" "It's a place where a show is going to be performed. Usually the show is already booked in advance. Anyway," continued Zach, "my parents kept their ordinary clothes in one suitcase and their costumes and makeup in another." "Does your father wear makeup?" asked George. "Sometimes," answered Zach, still struggling with the cords. Gosh, they certainly did a good job on this. Do you mean like a lady? Said Willie. Carrie burst out laughing. Here, said Ginny, I'll help you. She knelt by Zack, who was now hot with frustration. He leaned back on his heels and looked at Willie. Haven't you ever seen a show? Willie shook his head. Me mum says that theatres and picture houses are dens of sin. Whatever, exclaimed Zack. I was practically born in a theatre. I was breastfed in the theatre dressing rooms. Willie brushed. That's swearing, he said. I learnt to walk and talk in theatre, said Zack. And I'm not sinful, am I? You're just an angel, aren't you, Carrie said, her hands clasped. And you're cracked, said Zack. Come on, let's open this case. At last, the stiff, damp straps were unbuckled and the two large clips unfastened. Zack threw back the lid in triumph, and the twins and George gathered around to look at the contents. Willie hesitated. Come on, Will, said Zack, seeing him hand back. I want to show off Ev to everyone. When do you stop? Remarked Carrie. Zack gave her a withering glance, but it was so dramatic, she and the others burst out laughing. He gave up and looked inside the case. And that is where I'm going to stop. And if you want to find out more, go and get yourself a copy of Goodnight, Mr. Tom. I hope you've had a fantastic book day and you've enjoyed listening to all the videos. I hope you enjoyed the two picture books that we read earlier, and I look forward to seeing you next week in school. That's it for now. I shall see you soon. Bye-bye.